evening, everyone, and welcome to Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner. This is episode number 253, When Worlds Collide, the classic 1951 science fiction drama film starring Richard Derr and also Barbara Rush. And with me tonight to discuss this classic from the 1950s is my friend, my co-host, the one and only Mr. Ross Amico. Hey, Ross.
Hey, Roy.
I don't know if we can beat that lead in. Ross.
Hosanna. Yeah.
How are you, Ross?
Doing all right. Quite a day today. Quite a day. Very busy day.
Yeah.
Today with deadlines and so forth. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I kind of had kind of a migraine, slight migraine. It's there. It's being annoying, but you know what? I shall endure. We will move on forward.
Well, that's the spirit.
Yeah. And you know what? Today is the last day of the month of January of 2025. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. We're already, what is it, 1/12 of the way through.
Yeah. I mean, what the heck just happened?
Well, like I was saying before we started, 10 years goes by like nothing now. It's crazy.
Oh, boy. With that said, I want to say hi to the folks that are joining us. I see Matt's out there. Hey, Matt. Matt's saying, I can see that it's another punctual beginning to the show. You've got it, Matt. Welcome, and glad to see that you're on time. And Matt is joining us from Philadelphia.
Yeah, just be glad we're not in charge of preparing for the collision of the worlds. We're still 3 hours behind schedule. Step it up. Yeah.
Oh boy! And Randy's joining us from Wisconsin. Hey, Randy. He's saying Randy Lee here, prepping for interplanetary disaster from my desk.
Yeah, that's where all the most important work gets done.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Brennan is joining us from Massachusetts. Welcome, Brennan. Great to see you out there.
Good evening.
Catherine Speck is out there. Catherine, welcome.
Wow. Thanks, Catherine. High praise from Catherine. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. much appreciated. And Lou is out there. Hey, Lou. Lou is joining us from Rhode Island. Welcome, Lou. Yes, and Catherine is saying, migraine, are you sure it's not an alien invasion of your brain? No, I'm not, actually. It could well be, actually, but don't tell anybody. But you know what? We may have to revisit the invasion of the body snatchers. It would only be appropriate.
There we go.
Linda is joining us from Canada, Western Canada. Welcome, Linda. Good to see you out there. And Randy is saying, when worlds collide sounds like my last Zoom meeting. 2 departments with completely different priorities. Oh, boy. That sounds like a corporate meeting in the making. Hey, Snow is out there. Hey, Snow. Thanks for joining in. Good to see you out there.
Roy the man, the legend.
I wish. That was actually a quote in a show. It's so funny. I did what was it? At Country Gate. We did a play back in the day, and Bill and company never let me forget that. And I had this line. I come out, and it was actually The King and I was playing. I was going to say the soothsayer. I was playing the interpreter, and then I come out and I go, the lover has been found. He's dead. And to this day, Bill and Vince will say, the man, the legend. Anyway, I'm cracking myself up as I ingest these meds for the migraine. So there we go.
There you go. Among other things.
But anyway, I caught that, Ross. Welcome. And yes, we are going to talk about this great movie, When Worlds Collide. It was wonderful. It was great. It was 1951. I cannot believe this is a 74-year-old movie. Well, released back in August of 1951. So as far as a release date, we're looking at least 74 and a half years, which is pretty amazing. So
yeah, we're batting around ideas, what to do this week. And it's been a little while since we've gone back to the 50s. And I know we've mentioned this one, at least between ourselves, sometime in the past. And Roy, we were passing it back and forth. We said, yeah, let's do this one. So, and I thought, okay, with all the planets visible in the sky right now, and with everything, we're on the verge of societal collapse. I mean, why not? When worlds collide. And the G-forces. I've got my G-force right here.
Coffee.
Guinness.
Guinness. Oh my God.
Hey,
Snow is,
for this, by the way.
Snow is saying, I'm impressed with Ross's bookshelf.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, it's all CDs. but I got the bookshelves over there. So
Snow, it is really crazy. You should, I mean, the CDs that he has, I mean, I would say I wouldn't want to disrupt your camera, Ross, but if you did a pan just to give the viewers and Snow just so
well, this is only some of them here.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait.
It's infinitesimal, or yeah.
Infinitesimal is that's the other way, though. No, it's more than infinitesimal. It goes
there.
on and on, all the way down there.
So,
and that's just on this side. There's more there and some in that room. And I'm in radio, so that's why I'm not just an insane. Well, I am an insane collector, but I used to use all of them or a lot of them. Now I use a few a week. So there were a couple shows. Well, let's see, what 5 do I use on this show?
She said, "Whoa," and perfect. You got to see it.
Go.
And then with the new word, whoops, I bow to Ross. She said, and Lou is saying, "Drink."
I need to.
Infinitesimal will be the new word where everybody's got a drink on the show now.
Yeah,
it's been placed aside for camaraderie.
Infinitesimal. I don't even know what that is. Yeah.
Brennan said the Library of Babel or Babel.
Babel, yeah. That's over there.
Oh, Matt's coming up with the facts. The King and I factoid: Yul Brynner performed the role 4,625 times on Broadway. Thanks for that.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, my mom saw him on the last run, when he came
really
around
was.
and they revived it. Yeah, I could have seen The King and I didn't see it. So.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Now, was that in the 70s?
I think it was in the 80s, actually.
Really?
It may have been. Yeah, it was late. Could have been late 70s, but I think it was the 80s. I'm not sure. I wasn't offered a seat, though, but I could have pushed for it.
Yeah, I remember when he was making the commercials and everything. My God.
Yeah.
And what's scary? That's like we're like at probably like the 40, 45. Well, actually, we're probably more like the 45-year mark with the commercials, which is just insane. I still can't process that the early 70s, like I shouldn't even say early, mid 70s, as in like 1975 is 50 years ago already. I mean, that's just,
And my mom said Yul was still in great shape. He was doing all the dances and everything.
Wow.
He said you could see he was an older man,
Sure.
but he still had the energy and the charisma.
Yeah.
So.
And when you say older, Ross, is that like our age now? Or
he
was probably younger than what we are now.
Yeah, well, if you smoke 25 packs of cigarettes a day. Yeah. I don't know how many. I mean, he smoked incessantly. I don't know how many. Yeah. I'm not a smoker, so I don't know how many packs you can smoke in a day. But take that and double it, and that was Yul Brynner.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh boy, sorry, sorry, Snow. It's all good. This
all good.
We elude the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and 80s on this show.
Yeah,
but let's see. And Randy just said, just watched a webcast on When Worlds Collide. It was
it was indefensible.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Ross, when was the first time you saw this movie?
This was the first time I saw it, believe it or not. All these George Pal movies kind of run together to me. I mean, of this type. So I wasn't sure if I'd seen it or not because I'd seen the shots of the space arc, clips from that. But I don't think I've seen it before. I think this is the first time I saw it. Gotcha. How about you?
This was actually the first time that I saw it from beginning to end. I had caught clips of this film. And of course, I mean, I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I always like to give a shout out to Starlog magazine back in the day, because before there was the internet, there was Starlog magazine, and Joe, your cousin Joe Metz, actually had this issue, and that's where I was first introduced to this movie, and that was Starlog issue number 10 with the ship on there. Hey, before I go on, I just want to say hi to Jeffrey's out there. Hey, Jeffrey, thanks for tuning in. Hey. And he said, I love this movie. I read the books. Yeah, and we'll talk about that too, Jeffrey, because there was actually a sequel to the book, which George Pal wanted to do as a sequel to this movie, but unfortunately that did not happen. But yeah, it was very, very, it was really good.
Yeah, and it's you know, it's nothing. It's not a profound observation, but the people who grew up when we did, and we saw the moon landing when we were, sprouts.
Yeah.
You have to remind younger people this was actually before the space program, before space travel. So it's kind of cool that they this was their vision of going to another world. And hi, Jeffrey, and with the space arc and everything. I don't know. We can talk about that a little later about the concept of a space arc.
Absolutely.
We'll save it for later in the discussion. I won't forget. I jotted it down.
Well, think about it. This film was shot. Okay, the movie came out in 1951. It was shot in 1950. So the first man landed on the moon, which I always feel close to my heart because July 20th, which is my birthday, and it was 1969. So to your point, I was 3 years old. Don't have the recollection of that. Have the recollection of when man was going to the moon in the 70s, which we were, Jeffrey was, for the folks out there who weren't tuning in last Sunday, Jeffrey was on, and we were talking about the moon landing, his movie that he's worked, which is almost complete. Filming is completed, but will be coming out this year, is The Eagle Obsession, and it deals with that. And definitely check that out. It's on the rewind for the show. But backing up, the generation that was living back in the 1950s and then fathoming what was going to happen about traveling to the moon and how that potentially could be, or actually another planet, another world. This film also, Ross and I, we talked about, what was it? Destination Moon.
Right.
And that was the episode that my dad came on and was talking about his recollections of seeing that when he was a child, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah.
So it's a different type of audience for that.
Oh, and there's no question this film was inspirational for as grim as it is. It was inspirational to people that went into the space program, for scientists, and especially the guy who worked on the concept art. We had Ralph McQuarrie for Star Wars and everything. Well, the guy who worked on this film was Chesley Bonestell, and he did a lot of science fiction illustrations for magazines and books and that sort of thing. But he did hard science conceptual art, and a lot of the people who saw these things were inspired. In fact, he was inspirational to the getting the space program off the ground. His sketches were things that were kind of things that they said, they worked with him and said, this is stuff we can do, and this is the future. So anyway, so it's like with the writers that inspired these film. The certain generation was inspired by Jules Verne, right, for instance, or H.G. Wells, and then they pick it up, and then they were doing short stories for the pulps, or novels or something like that. And then the filmmakers come along, and then guys like us come along, and we put up a podcast. And
well, and to be fair though, growing up, I mean, we used to make Super 8 films, which is really cool. I mean, we were inspired back in the 80s with doing that stuff because we watched these shows, we watched the television of the 60s and the 70s. And when we were doing that kind of stuff, we were doing it like in the early 80s. So, and then you hear about different stories of different, people, different individuals, different filmmakers that have done that. And I think it's really cool when you have those conversations and you find that, and I'll use the quote from a Twilight Zone episode, people are alike all over. And I mean that in a good way, in regards to how they're influenced with the genre and with reading the novels or seeing the different films, and it carries over. So to your point, Steven Spielberg's and the George Lucas's, and thinking back immediately to George Lucas, he was influenced by, wasn't it the Flash Gordon and
right
era.
And this film the novel, I didn't read the novel, Philip Wiley, and I never heard of Edward Ballmer who co-wrote it. It was Edward Ballmer and Philip Wiley, but they very definitely influenced Flash Gordon with the because I thought of that immediately, where they're in the observatory at the beginning, because that's how the old Buster Crabbe serial starts. with his father in the observatory, and they're on a collision course with Mongo.
Right.
And they did it when they remade the movie too, in a campier fashion.
Yeah, and it was funny. I was thinking of
Yeah.
your point about that. I was thinking about this film, and then something came to my mind about like Flash Gordon.
Right.
How there is that similarity because Mongo was on a collision course with the Earth, so there's the influence there. So it is, so to speak.
Yeah. So it was definitely. I think Flash Gordon picked up on that. I don't think it was an accident.
Right. Yeah. But
ironically, they got there first in the movies. They didn't make this film until 1951, and the Flash Gordon serials were the 1930s.
Yeah. So, which is only like what, less than a 20-year period, Ross, which is kind of crazy when you think back on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
did you see the 90s movie? And I'm jumping all over here, all over the spectrum. Did you see the movie Deep Impact? I
did not. You know what? I was going to say, though, this film was very influential. I mean, as far as, those 90s disaster films it seems they swamped the multiplexes. You had all of the Roland Emmerich and who was the other guy? Michael Bay. And and they had... was it Deep Impact? Was that the one that Spielberg produced? I don't remember. They all ran together.
I think that was, yeah.
Yeah, they all kind of run together. I didn't see any of them because that's not my kind of movie. Especially, I don't want to see it in under modern conditions with the sound and the overwhelming. I don't need to be at ground zero when the planets collide. Thank you. I don't need that. But anyway, your point. Did you see it?
Yes, I did see it. I saw that back in, I think I saw it in the late 90s, actually. And I think that's when it came out. It was in 98, if I remember correctly. And I'm trying to think of who was actually in it. Oh, my God. It's it wasn't on my tier.
Is that the one that Morgan Freeman was in it and a bunch of other folks? It had a huge cast. Was it when Tanya Leone or something?
Yeah, and you know what, too, Ross? There's another movie that was similar to that. Wasn't there a film called Armageddon? And I think that was
Armageddon's the Bruce Willis.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
With what's it, Affleck and
I
didn't see that. I didn't see any of those, but yeah, it's something's going to collide. We did Meteor, at least.
We did do Meteor, right? Exactly.
Yeah, which is a horrible movie.
Snow said, all I know is Eon will be taking this to Zyra in 2026. And then she said, all joking aside, my favorite thing is to watch movies and read is human behavior and reactions to a crisis.
Yeah. Well, wasn't it amazing? It's really interesting because it's a kind of a post-war take on this. 51's not that long after the end of World War II. It's only 6 years. But it's the early 50s, and that's kind of what you look at it and say it's 50s, but now I look at it and I think, oh wow, it's also post-war. But think about how people behaved back then. I mean, I understand movies are movies, but they're reflective of society, and everybody was kind of a good citizen, and they did their part. Right. Everybody contributed for the survival and everything. They all worked together, of course, until they didn't. But
and then it all fell apart. And then you had the industrialist that was right there to say he knew what was going to happen, who was, and then there was the Star Trek connection right there too with John Hoyt. Yeah. Brennan said Morgan Freeman is the president. Yeah.
Okay, that was the one.
And then Snow said, "Are we really that?" Oh, she said, "I think there are 9 cookie cutters of people and how they react to crisis. I can't type fast enough in my phone to keep up. Lots of laughs. I'm about 3 minutes behind." 3 minutes ago. And then she said, "Are we really that different in our reactions from the 50s versus today? Other than they couldn't get online and pass their feelings back then."
Post their feelings. Yeah, that's how people would spend their last day. Now they'd be online.
Yep. It's true.
Instead of putting the sheep on the rocket.
Here's the thing. Yeah, right.
We're 3 hours behind. Keep loading those sheep.
Yeah. The human nature hasn't changed. It's more the technology's changed.
The technology's changed, and I think it was. I don't know. Would something happen that the country would come together? And maybe, I don't know. We saw it with the World Trade Center.
That's true.
But we're 25 years past that. 24 years past that now. I don't know. I don't know if anything would happen. Everybody would just claim it was a conspiracy and hide in their basements and wait for the War of the World aliens to come. bunch of survivalists.
Yeah. Now, just for the folks out there that have not seen this movie, I'm not going to go through the plot step by step by step, and I'm waiting for somebody out there to say type plot. It'll probably be like But essentially, what the basis and the crux of this story is that it's an astronomer discovers that there is going to be a planet that is going to be like a rogue planet and a rogue star that are going to be passing by the Earth. And what's going to happen is the planet is going to pass by the Earth and cause a lot of devastation, a lot of destruction. But just when that is not enough for everything to happen and take place, and there's going to be a lot of fatalities and a lot of disaster, then what's left is going to be essentially taken out by the rogue sun. And it's
yeah, the 1-2 punch.
Yeah, it's like if the first punch doesn't get you, the second one will.
What was the
So just said, I'm watching a series right now called Designated Survivor, and it's just interesting the reactions today versus The Walking Dead.
What was
Matt just said, I'm sorry, Matt just said Lily Sobieski was in Deep Impact. Oh, geez. Yeah. Go ahead, Ross. I'm sorry.
No, I'm trying to remember now what we did. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. What was the conflict there? Wasn't it something the Earth was going to end there also, or something?
What was going on with that was, and that's the 1960 classic with Walter Pidgeon,
right.
David Sterling, and what that involved was the Van Allen radiation belt. It was off, and what they needed to do was the Seaview, Harriman Nelson, who was commander of the sub, did a trajectory on this whole thing, and he plotted out that within 42 days, if it wasn't stopped or some kind of intervention took place, which his intervention was shooting a missile into the radiation belt,
right,
which would disband the radiation and everything would be okay, it would annihilate the Earth. And then what happened was there were scientists that were against him, saying that that was not the case, and he was basically a crackhead, and that they were trying to stop him. And that was the basis of the film.
I don't think they called him a crackhead, but they might have thought he was a crackpot.
Yeah.
But they had the kind of the parallel scene in this movie with the UN, and everybody divided. Do you think they built multiple space arcs? They said they were going to work on them around the world. Do you think this was the only one that got off, or do you think there were other space arcs? We don't know definitively.
No, we don't. But here's the thing. And again, I did not read the novels. Now I know Jeffrey said that he read the books. There is the sequel, and it's what takes place after they land on the new world.
After worlds collide. Yeah.
When worlds collide, and when worlds collide. It would be interesting to find out if that reason for that title is because what's happening is the other areas of the world, mankind, humankind, civilization prospered to the new world, and then what happens is it's they're going at it because again it's conflict. People, you have a large group of people together, and then what happens is it kind of goes up in smoke.
right. Well, it's the timelessness of the mob mentality.
Right. But to your point, though, the people that were a part of this, the people that essentially signed up and had volunteered and were, and I do you remember what the count was, Ross, as far as how many people were involved in that?
When they were on the ship?
Well, on the ship, I think wasn't it 44 people, and then it was
seemed to drop it. I thought it was more than that when they started. Like it was going to be 60 or 50 or something, and then it got down to somehow to like 40 or something. I don't know what happened.
But it was in the hundreds of folks that were going to help to build this over the period of the 8 months that they had to construct it. So there was a unity coming together, and really, I think part of it was that the hope that maybe they would be the one of them selected, or two people selected if they were a couple, to essentially get on the space arc to go out into the heavens.
And there was a drawing. Everybody got they drew a button,
right,
and or a coin or what have you, and then they had they didn't tell anybody ahead of time because they knew there would be trouble, there would be resentment
right at the end.
Yeah, so they waited to post who got on until the very end, and then everybody grabbed the rifles.
Yeah.
Hey, don't you understand? If you kill them, then what? We get on and somebody kills us, and it's like that moment when everybody it's sinking in, and everybody goes, "No, let's get him."
Yeah.
Forget the voice of reason.
Well, and this is true too. Now you had engineers that were essentially, you had one person that essentially owned ex-military land. You had another person that, or a couple of people that were engineers, and then also you had an individual that was essentially going to finance it. Now and that was played by John. That was the industrialist played by John Hoyt.
Wait, all right.
And his thing was he wanted a ticket. I mean, he was kind of basically buying his way onto the ship is what he was doing. And he was almost taking it to this extreme where he was saying, okay, you can build this, but you're going to do it my way. I'm going to choose the people. Right. And they basically shut him down at the beginning. And they said, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, he wanted to leverage everything there and control the whole thing and fill it up with his friends. And
yeah. So, and they put the kibosh on that.
Why can't people just shut people down like that anymore?
And then sadly, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And with that, the construction of the Ark began, and everybody was working towards it. But he even warned, and he said, what's going to happen is you're going to have to prepare yourselves, because there is going to be a mob scene, and people are going to be the animals of the jungle when it comes time to finding out if they're going to be actually picked and selected. And if they're not, then what's going to happen is they're just going to pretty much go prime, they're going to turn into primates and they're not going to care about anything, and they're going to attack. And what's really sad is he even shoots one of his own employees at one point.
The jungle. Yeah. He shoots Smithers. He shoots his Smithers.
Yeah.
Because they had a very Smithers, Mr. Burns relationship. He's wheeling him around in the wheelchair, and every time he needs him, he calls him. Yeah, what was the guy's name? It was
excuse me.
What was his name? Stanton?
Stanton. Yeah.
Stanton. Yeah, and who played him was it was Ferris. Stanton was the guy in the chair. Ferris was the one he was calling to all the time to come get the chair. The guy who played Ferris, though, was Frank Cady. Did you notice? He was a familiar character actor, but he played the same character in everything. He was in Green Acres. He was in Petticoat Junction. He was in Beverly Hillbillies, but he always played that same character.
Right.
He's a little younger in this movie, but it's kind of amusing to see him in that role. And they had a very Smithers, Mr. Burns kind of relationship. But yeah. Then he says, "I'm going," and then of course Stanton's like, "Blam, blam, blam." So I mean, you get into questions like, I guess there's no law anymore at that point. The guy is not going to give them to the police, I guess, at that point.
Right. It's like everything went right out the window.
So yeah, law. There are interesting questions about law and morality, because you had the polar opposites. Because you had the industrialist, the magnate or what have you, who was very selfish and suspicious, but ultimately kind of right a little bit. Not just in his politics or his kind of reactions to things, but also correct.
Right.
On the other side, you had the idealistic, more liberal fellow who was also right or correct. But you could see that in certain situations, one's philosophy was not going to work out as well as somebody else's philosophy. And interestingly, they both. I'm going to spoil the movie, so if you haven't seen it,
it's okay.
They both kind of wind up the same way. Right. One voluntarily and one involuntarily.
Right.
But neither one is entirely correct, because the scientist, the idealistic one, he makes all kinds of crazy choices. They only have a few seats on that rocket.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody's chosen for a reason. But my daughter's into you, so you can come along. or he gets all soft because one couple gets separated during the drawing, and the guy's going to go, but the woman got shut out. And it's like, well, guess what? You go too. So they can both, or they find a kid on the roof in the middle of the flood. Right. Yeah, let's put him on too. Oh, he has a dog? Put the dog on too. After he's all strict, well, we only have a certain number of seats, and we can't just give them out to anybody. So it's he's not deliberately being crooked, but his heart's too big.
Right. Well, they're at two ends of the extremes.
Yeah.
In fact, Snow just said too, what do you think about the concept of a lottery to determine who will board the Ark? And that's essentially what was going on. I mean, let me ask you a question. So are you asking what we think about that they did that, or are you asking what in regards to if they were to do that? Because they actually did do that for this.
Yeah. Although I assume that the pool that they chose from, they were all kind of equal skills. Because they put all the scientists, it's ludicrous. I mean, when you get right down to it, you're going to need a much bigger ship, because what are you going to do? You're going to put like some cows. You got one rocket. What are you going to do? You put some cows and some sheep.
Well, here you go.
Gallons of water.
All roads lead to Space 1999. And you're waiting for it, so I'm going to give it to you. Yeah. The whole thing is it's a morale booster. What are the chances that it's going to work? Is it really going to work? It's probably not, but it's a shot. It's a shot for mankind, and it's a shot, or humankind. It's a shot for things to happen. But or is it really going to help? Is it really going to make? Are they going to make it? Chances are they won't. But at least it's a possibility. So it's
right.
It's for morale.
It's like when Randall at the end throws the hatch open. They go, oh, wait a minute, we got to test the air. And he goes, well, what for? Because we can't go anywhere else.
Right?
He throws the door open.
Yeah.
If it's poison, we can't go anywhere else. Might as well just go and check it out. Yeah. It's pretty funny.
Now,
but as far as the concept of the lottery, I mean, presumably they had all the people, the scientists and the experts on there already, and then they just chose to fill up the rest with the mechanically inclined folk that were in the hangar there, the factory or what have you.
Yeah. Randy said, the story has been interpreted as a modern retelling of Noah's Ark. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the movie opens with the Bible. I mean, that's how the film
about God's wrath. I know.
So I mean, and did you know who the narrator was for that, Ross?
Paul Frees.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is a George Powell movie. Yeah. So the Burgermeister himself, Burgermeister Meisterburger. Yeah.
And in Frosty the Snowman, he was the voice of Santa Claus. He was the voice of the traffic cop.
He's a very familiar voice actor. Yeah, he was in War of the Worlds too. You actually got to see him in War of the Worlds. He was the newscaster. And the Holy Bible.
And the Holy Bible, yep.
Holy Bible and Paul Frees. You got everything in this movie.
Snow said, another interesting observation is the acceptance of inconvenient scientific truths.
Yeah. Well, there were people who resisted at the beginning.
Yep, that's true.
But then they pretty much said it's coming, and then you could see it every day getting closer. So
well, and that was the other thing that they said too. They said, we can't wait when you see the sun, and I forget what was the name. It started with a Z.
Bellis.
Yes, when the sun was going to be, the rogue sun was going to be approaching, and then it would be too late. It would be too late to construct these vehicles. These vehicles needed to start construction immediately.
Yeah,
and they had no time to waste. And then, of course, you know what it reminded me of too, Ross? It almost reminded me of Superman, because Krypton, Krypton was going to be breaking up, and Jor-El essentially was trying to warn the people, and they didn't want to hear it. And he had, to the tribunal, to the scientific council, and they basically dismissed him.
Yeah.
And so as a result, they wanted to save their son, Kyle, and then that was what would later become Superman.
It's so true though. It's nobody ever does anything. We can know that something's going to cause a destruction. It's like, oh well, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Right.
I can't see it with my eyes or what happened. It's like, oh, we're all screwed up the end.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah. No, what were we going to say? Because I'll change the subject if you're not careful.
That's okay. What I was going to say is I wanted to show some of the actors that were in this movie. and I will start with Barbara Rush. Now,
Mhm.
Barbara Rush was only like 23, 24 years old when she did this film. And she essentially was really having a breakout career with these movies. And we had talked about in 1953, she did It Came from Outer Space. And then that's when she won the Golden Globe for best or actress who was going to be most prominent, or as far as like a career.
Most promising, yeah.
Most promising. She went on to do a lot of movies and a lot of television. Her work was especially in the theater. She did, I guess, the 1950 movie was called The Goldbergs. That was her debut film with Paramount Pictures, followed by this film. And then also she did a movie called I don't know if you ever saw it. It was called Flaming Feather, and that was with Sterl Hayden. Did you ever see that?
No.
Yeah. She did that. It Came from Outer Space. And then she also did a lot of episodic television. If you're a Batman fan, you'd remember her from the Batman TV series from the 1960s. Right. She had a guest spot on there. Of course, The Outer Limits, The Form of Things Unknown. She was in that. She was a regular on Peyton Place. And then also she was on the soap opera, daytime soap opera, All My Children. And some folks may remember her if you were a Bionic Woman fan back from the 70s, Jamie Summers. She actually had a dual role playing Jamie's mom and or Chris Stewart. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but that was a 2-part episode. And she was in that. So yeah, she did a lot of stuff. And she was, I guess, acting right up until, in the middle 2000s. And then sadly, she just passed away last March, and she was 97 years old, I believe, 97, 98. Yeah. And Chris Hunter, who we've had on the show, that's his mom. And also she was married to Jeffrey Hunter from 1950 to 1955. So there's that indirect Star Trek connection, as in Jeffrey Hunter, who played Captain Christopher Pike, who was in The Cage, the first pilot of Star Trek back in 1964.
He also played Jesus.
Yes, and he was in The King of Kings playing Jesus. That's absolutely
so
right.
So we have New Testament and the Old Testament wrath of God and Noah. So,
yes.
So there you go. Bionic Woman, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, there were a lot of actors in this movie that wound up on soap operas and episodic television. And they had regular parts in shows like Mr. Ed or I Dream of Jeannie. The scientist at the beginning, you had Colonel Bellows.
Yeah, Dr. Bellows. It was, Colonel Bellows. And Hayden Rourke. I mean, that's the first time I think I've seen him in something besides I Dream of Jeannie.
I Dream of Jeannie. And I wonder, and he's there smoking the pipe. I wonder if William Hootkins, who I'm talking about, the guy from Top Men from Raiders.
Yep.
I wonder if he's modeled his performance either on this. It was a common kind of thing in the 50s to have these guys that would be kind of dour, sitting behind giant desks, and the bureaucrats smoking their pipes. Well, here he's an astronomer, a scientist, but right. He very much reminded me of that, the kind of top men kind of.
Yeah, he's got the goatee going. Oh yeah, top men. When who's looking into it, top men.
Yeah.
I wanted to say hi to John out there quick. Hey John, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well and good to see you. And Hayden Rourke. So I'm gonna go back a little bit.
Yeah, sorry to jump ahead there.
No, it's okay. Now,
Dr.
exactly. Richard Derr. I thought he looked familiar, but I was trying to place him, and it just wasn't clicking. Mm-hmm. And he essentially, believe it or not, he was from Norristown, Pennsylvania.
Right.
So he's a local guy. And what I thought was really cool reading up on him is that he actually got involved with community theater locally, and he was a bank teller. And then what happened was he got involved, he got the acting bug, and then he became a lifelong member of the Actors Studio, which I thought was really cool. And he went on to do a theater on Broadway in the 1950s. He also did episodic television show. This was a leading role for him, but generally he was more of a supporting actor in his roles. The one thing, though, as we like to say on the show, is all roads do lead to Star Trek. And believe it or not, with him, it leads to Star Trek not only once, but twice. And there he is. and he was in the episode "The Alternative Factor," which is from season 1 of Star Trek, and he played a Commodore Barslow. And then he was also in a 3rd season episode of Star Trek in which he played an admiral, and he was Admiral Fitzpatrick. Unfortunately, it's not one of my favorite episodes, and that episode is The Mark of Gideon. So there you go for that. Snow said, have an amazing weekend, everyone. Have to run out. Hugs, Roy Ross. Great to hear you today. Thanks so much, Snow. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Hugs back to you, and catch you soon.
All right.
So, and I know John's a big Star Trek fan, so there's a connection. But yeah, so you're talking about maybe 17 years later from the photo on the left, and Matt said that he looks like Danny Kaye.
Yeah, I thought so too. I absolutely thought so. Yeah. There's something about him.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Danny Kaye.
But there you go.
That would have been something. Well, the other actor they had considered, they wanted Douglas Fairbanks Jr. for the lead.
I saw that.
But I think that was one of the casualties of slashing the budget, because at first they had higher aspirations for this film, but because Conquest of Space didn't do well at the box office, they had to kind of cut. And one of the things I think went was Douglas Fairbanks. The idea of having Douglas Fairbanks Jr. He's too big a name. We got to get somebody else. So we got to get some of these guys that are going to be in Mr. Ed and Green Acres.
I'll tell you though, I mean, right at the start of the movie though, he looked like he seemed like a really laid back guy. He was kind of like, he's being kind of chauvinistic. He's checking out the girls and everything. He's on the flight and everything. And, but he had like a friendly personality. And then, his character evolved, and then you start to think, okay, this guy's pretty sure of himself. And, but he turned out to be a good guy, because he didn't want to just take somebody else's seat, talking about the whole lottery thing and talking about what's fair. He was the complete opposite of the industrialist. He didn't want to just go. His romantic relationship was with Barbara Rush, and it was developing, even though she was possibly on the path of engagement. But it was almost like she was so smitten with him that she was questioning whether or not she wanted to get engaged to the other guy or not. And then that was the end of that. Leslie's out there. Hey, Leslie, thanks for joining us. She said, got to love his I Can Walk. Oh, wait.
I Can't Walk. Oh, wait. It reminded me of Joe Flaherty. I don't know if you ever saw SCTV, where Joe Flaherty plays the station manager, Guy Caballero, who's always like wheeling himself around.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, he gets up out of the
Yeah, and with that said, that's the other connection to Star Trek that we have, of course, and that's with John Hoyt, who was in the pilot, which was The Cage back in 1964,
right.
with Jeffrey Hunter, which he, here he had worked with Barbara Rush, and now, 14 years later, he's working with Jeffrey Hunter.
That's true. It's interesting that a lot of these guys, like the other guy, Derr, was a lifetime member of the Actors Studio.
Yeah.
And this guy, Hoyt, was in Orson Welles' Mercury Theater and did stage acting too. So, I mean, these guys had very rounded experience in stage and film and on radio. And it was, to be an actor, it's just like, I'm going to just do this, whatever it is, whether it's whether I'm working with Orson Welles or Mr. Ed.
Come on, Ross. You watched Mr. Ed back in the day.
Oh, I watch Mr. Ed all the time. Sure.
Channel 5 out of New York.
Yeah. So therefore, when Keating shows up, with Larry Keating, Dr. Cole Hendren, he's the neighbor on Mr. Ed.
Oh, geez. Okay. Right. And that's
yeah.
Let me find him. Let me get him. Here he is. I have him coming up on the right.
Where is he?
On the right side?
I don't see him.
Oh, you don't?
I mean, that's with Frank Cady on the right there.
Maybe I had the wrong guy. Hold on. My bad. What was his last name again, Ross?
Keating.
Okay.
He was the father.
Yeah, that's right. And and he was a character actor that you saw all the time back then.
Yeah, a lot of them were. Yeah.
There he is. He's on the first slide.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know why you can never hear the horse talk. So frustrating.
But anyway, so now I believe Rachel Ames is Julie Cummings. She is the last surviving person that from this film, and she's in her mid-90s.
Okay.
So she was only she was like in her early 20s there, but yeah. Here's some other images.
There's the space ark.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is for 1951, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so spacious. I mean, no pun intended. But,
yeah, Randy, I would agree. Yeah, the movie does kind of connect with 1999 on that level, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, it's like they pull this thing together, and like you can't put everything on the ark. I mean, the ark is a great story, great biblical story, and a great metaphor. Whether or not there actually was ever an ark, or how great a flood it was. I'm not going to get into that, whatever. But I mean, just to think that you have to put two of everything on this thing, and it's not going to work when you're flying a little space bus.
Right.
but I mean, come on. I mean, you got to suspend disbelief that the star is coming right for the planet, and it's coming right for Earth, and it's got the planet with it. Imagine being on that planet.
Now, here's the thing.
How's it going to support life? I mean, where's it going to go next? Is it going to fly past the sun or what?
In the book, it's my understanding that it was two planets, and it wasn't the sun that was. And I guess what happens is then the planets get caught in the gravitational. And somebody out there that's read the books, well, Jeffrey read the books, if you can correct me. I believe then our sun catches the planets. There's an alpha and there's a beta planet, and they both get caught up in our sun's gravity.
Gravity, yeah.
And then what basically they start to orbit the sun. I think that's what happens with that.
Okay. So we get a couple more extra planets out there.
Yeah, so it's different than the movie's different than the book in the sense that it was a planet and a star as opposed to two planets.
So they were friendly planets.
Wow, you would hope.
I bet we have really big waves though when that happened.
Well,
that was the thing too. I mean, it got really interesting when, what about What's This and the puppies? Yeah, exactly. They put the puppies on board. Yeah, you missed that, Leslie. We were talking about like the whole random aspect. Oh, we don't have any seats. Oh, but wait, we got to keep these young lovers together. Or we found a boy floating on a roof in the flood. Or wait, he's got a dog. Let's bring the dog. But
speaking of which, Ross, when he goes to rescue the dog, and then the boy and the dog, and they get him onto the helicopter, and then he goes back for the supplies for the boy, and then the helicopter flies away. Did you think he was going to keep going?
I mean, that's what would happen in real life. I mean, because there are rivals for the same girl, right. They're rivals in love. But it was kind of nice that he came back, and then he also helped set him up. He convinced him to come along after all when the guy was going to stay behind.
Brennan said in the books there were more arcs too. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Philip Wiley. I was reading about him, and somehow I came across something about his niece who co-created The Flying Nun.
Oh.
But sadly, tragically, she was involved she was murdered in the early 60s in a very famous case in New York. And
hi, Leslie.
Yeah, it's very lurid, but it was the career girls murders is what it was.
Oh,
and it kind of took out there's this. It escalated as just the ripple effect of the distress kind of took out the rest of the family afterwards because of her early death. But that was his niece. I just happened to notice her name was Janice Wiley. Philip Wiley himself was a science fiction writer. He wrote all kinds of books. It wasn't just and newspaper articles. It wasn't just science fiction. He was a brilliant guy. Apparently, he went to Princeton. He's a Princeton alum.
Wow.
And I see his name once in a while. I'm a classic movie guy, so I'm just watching old movies all the time. and his name once in a while turns up as a screenwriter, and has nothing to do with science fiction necessarily, but he'll be on the credits. He did the part of the adaptation for Island of Lost Souls, with Charles Lawton and Bela Lugosi, and the one that's based on Island of Dr. Moreau.
The Island of Dr. Moreau, which we covered on the show a long time ago.
Yeah, but the one back in the 30s, the Island of Lost Souls. And the other guy, the other author, Edwin Balmer, who I'd never heard of, really kind of spun this Worlds Collide franchise into something greater. There was a newspaper comic strip, apparently, talk about Flash Gordon, but in this case, it was Speed Spaulding was the name of the hero, and apparently it was just a whole Worlds Collide ongoing comic strip.
Gotcha.
That ran back in the day, before the movie. This would have been back in the 30s, I guess. So. But we didn't mention George Pal yet. We mentioned him, but we didn't say anything about him, really. I know we've done him a ton of times at this point. We covered a lot of his movies. George Pal, Hungarian-born animator, filmmaker. He's the one that patented the Pal dolls, known in America as the Puppetoons.
The Puppetoons, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so he made short films in Europe, and he did ads. He did their cigarette ads. I think some of these are on YouTube. He did ads for Philips, but then he mocked Hitler in one of them, made fun of the Nazis, and he had to leave.
Yeah, I think I remember us talking about that too.
Yeah. So he fled the United States, and Walter Lantz was the one that actually kind of got him here and helped him through the process of becoming a naturalized American citizen. So in gratitude, they were good friends. So in gratitude, in every one of George Pal's, yes, The Time Machine, George Pal's films, there's a little Woody Woodpecker. So I was looking for the Woody Woodpecker. I couldn't find it. Apparently in the airport, there is a Woody Woodpecker in the scene where Randall is being picked up, but I didn't see it. I'd have to go back and watch the film. War of the Worlds, exactly.
Yes, Leslie, we did talk about Batman, about Barbara Rush too, but yes.
Yeah.
And,
you got to get here early, but Leslie.
Yeah, she's out. She was at Costco, but
I got you. You're forgiven. You're forgiven. So of all the George Pal films, we've done When Worlds Collide. Now we did War of the Worlds, of course. Did we do Destination Moon? We did.
Yeah,
we did Destination Moon. We did The Time Machine. We did Seven Faces of Dr. Lowe.
Yes. Yeah.
And Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm. We did. And Doc Savage. Oh my goodness.
We've done a lot.
Yeah, Bronze. Yep. Yeah. So this is why we know George Pal so well. But yeah, he did a lot of films. Got an honorary Oscar early on in '43 for his Puppetoons. He's the creator of Tubby the Tuba, for anybody with a long memory. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure we gave Pal his due.
No, I appreciate that, Ross. Thanks for putting it out there, and we definitely needed to do that. Randy said Pal wanted to adapt after Worlds Collide into a movie, but never got the funding. Yeah, Ross was talking about that earlier. No Conquest of Space, though.
Yeah, no, we didn't do Conquest of Space. No, that's the one that didn't do well, I guess. What did she say? A little. Be kind to yourself, Leslie.
Yeah, she said, I'm a little slow. Give me a break. I almost died. Oh, Leslie. But you didn't, so you're okay. Yeah. So that's all that matters. I know you went through a rough time with everything. So yeah, she's recuperating. All right. Let me see. I just wanted to see.
I'll be nice.
Yeah, and what's really scary is Richard Derr was only like 75 when he passed. And I think
that was a full life back then. 97, Barbara Rush, that's extraordinary. Look at the era. It was a very stressful time to have lived through.
Yeah.
All those people lived through the Depression and World War II, and they had nothing to live on but cigarettes and whiskey. So
definitely
and asbestos. Yeah. And lead.
Now, Ross, in regards to the director.
Yeah.
Rudolph Mott?
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I forgot to look him up. So I don't know if it's Rudolph Mata. I don't know. I totally forgot to look him up. Is he German or Hungarian? I mean, is he from Europe?
Yeah.
I hate to look up stuff while we're actually on.
No, well, you're right. He was a Polish-Hungarian cinematographer who worked in Hungary.
Okay. Yeah, I figured it had to be a friend of Pal.
Yeah. And he worked on early movies, The Passion of Joan of Arc, 1928, and Vampira, 1932.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, he did The Passion of Joan of Arc and Vampire with for Carl Theodor Dreyer. Yeah.
Yeah, so he goes back ways.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! Yeah, he was involved with a lot of cinematographer for Dodsworth, Hitchcock's Foreign Correspondent, for Gilda with Rita Hayworth. Wow! And as a director, he did DOA with what's his face, Edmund O'Brien.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But he passed away. Well, he was like 66 when he passed, and he died in the 1960s. So really, the body of his work was really the early years.
Oh, so it's an accent over it. So it's Rudolf Mate, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Born Rudolf Meyer. Yeah, no, I was unfamiliar with him. Yeah. Well, I don't like to look stuff up while we're actually on.
No, I don't either, because I feel it's rude.
But in that case, we needed to. So
yeah, it's all good. That's all right, Jeff. Thanks.
Yeah.
Boy. So now we can do work. That's what Ross actually said you were going to say that earlier.
Yes. Sorry, Orca got left behind on the space arc. There's no room. It would have been Star Trek 4. They brought Orca.
And then we have the musical composer.
Oh my goodness! So are we already up to the musical composer?
We are.
Wow, we're only an hour in here, Roy. Okay, Laith Stevens, radio and film composer, largely. He was a child prodigy. He was a pianist. Apparently, he accompanied. This will mean nothing to anyone, but he accompanied Ernestina Schumann-Heink, who was an opera singer back in the day, a famous opera singer. He was radio director for the U.S. Department, U.S. War Office during World War II in the Pacific. Then he became an arranger for CBS Radio, which makes me wonder if he worked with Bernard Herrmann, because Bernard Herrmann was there also. And eventually, I think Herrmann became head of the music department there at CBS Radio, but that was right before he went to Hollywood. For the movies, he worked with George Pal. He did scores for this one and for War of the Worlds, and he did the Doris Day movie Julie. Apparently, the theme song for that was nominated for an Academy Award. He did the James Dean story, and for he did some uncredited work for It's a Wonderful Life. That was kind of that film score is kind of a mess. Dmitri Tiomkin wrote the music, but the film was recut so much that they wound up putting in a lot of library music by other composers.
Yep.
So if you hear the actual score the way it was, there was a recording of the actual score the way it was written. It doesn't always match up with what you see in the movie. It's a kind of a hodgepodge in the film. It's a good example of a very good movie that has a very patchy kind of weird film score. But he was one of the composers that contributed to that. I just found out a couple of years ago by chance that he wrote a piano concerto for a movie called Night Song. I was bouncing around the YouTube and saw Arthur Rubinstein playing it with Eugene Ormandy in the New York Philharmonic. I said, "What is this?" And yeah, Dana Andrews plays the composer in the film.
Dana Andrews.
Yeah, it's called Night Song, 1947. So if you want to hear Laith Stevens' piano concerto, it's on YouTube, or it was when I found it anyway. And that's about all I've got. He lived from 1909 to 1970.
Okay. Real quick, Luke commented. He said Laith Stevens also scored episodes of Lost in Space and for Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Yeah, he did episodic.
That's kind of cool. I'd be interested to know what episodes of especially Lost in Space that he did. I'll have to look that up later. Leslie had to check out. Take care, Leslie. Thanks for joining.
What? Unpack? What?
Yeah, she said she has to go home.
Okay. Bye, Leslie.
See you, Leslie. But thanks, Ross. That was good. And what a career, too.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you we'd said it was a precursor the movie was kind of a precursor to the 90s sci-fi disaster films. You have a picture of the poster, right? You had that right at the beginning on the card, right before the countdown. So I assume you have that up there.
There it is.
Yeah. So if you look closely at that, the design, the whole layout of that, the When Worlds Collide poster, is very similar to Poseidon Adventure.
Oh,
I noticed that because we did the Poseidon Adventure also, and it's the same kind of, dynamic, where you have the destruction going like this, and everybody leaning in the direction of all the water and chandeliers and everything. So, I mean, this is, I think, a film that was very much in people's consciousness still. It was only 20 years later in the 70s.
That was it.
Years later when they were making these movies. Because that was the first big disaster craze was in the 70s.
Yeah, with the Erlen Allen, the disaster movies, Earthquake and Sense Around and Towering Inferno.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, all those.
And then they really jumped the shark with the Swarm.
Beyond
the Design Adventure.
I hate these. Hi, Marblehead. You haven't been on the show in a long time, Marblehead.
Hurricane and
Marble's saying hi to everybody out there.
Hi, Marble.
She's made her entrance. The princess has spoken.
You're her, Marble.
Oh, she's so cute. All right, Marble. It's okay. But no, that's a very good point, Ross, in regards to the artwork.
Yeah.
But,
so if you were going to have a space arc, and you had so many days and you had to get this thing done and you only had so much room, what would you take with you?
I have no idea.
I mean, think about all the stuff you would leave behind. I mean, you wouldn't have, you wouldn't bring any of your artworks or any of your music or, probably a few of your books. I don't know if any would fit, or they had to worry about fuel and, every person was going to detract from the, how much power they would have to get there and land the thing. So,
hey, May, thanks for joining us. Don't worry if it's late. We're just glad she's joining us from Canada. Yeah, so what you're basically saying, Ross, is I wouldn't be able to bring my collection of all my Star Trek and Space 1999 stuff.
All this would have to stay. I guess that's why people have little iPhones. You could bring your little phone, but then you wouldn't have your battery would run. Yeah, I guess you'd need a generator, but you wouldn't have cell phone towers and stuff.
Right?
You would have to have it all in your phone, and that would be it. Maybe you'd have the professor there from Gilligan's Island making them out of coconuts or something.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
People are far out space nuts, Roy.
Far out. I love that show back in the 70s, even though it was so chintzy. Brennan said, this movie made such an impression on me. I was 8 or 9 when I caught it on TV. I was worried about this happening for a while until my uncle reassured me how unlikely it was to happen.
It's true, though. I mean, it's a kind of thing that really get under your skin and get in your head if you were a kid. And even now, I mean, the concept, if you thought about it, it's kind of, it's never heard the word puppetoons before tonight. Okay, well, it's a thing.
It is.
But I mean, think about it. I mean, well, things get very, very, very bad very quickly there with when the thing shows up, and suddenly you have cities underwater and volcanoes erupting. And what about the? I understand it was kind of on the cheap that they did these effects. Like sometimes they didn't have time to finish a matte painting, so they just used the sketch. It's a Chesley bone stealth. Bless you. Oh my goodness. Oh, When Worlds Collide. Are you okay? Are you there?
Yeah, that's why I paid the mute.
I hit the mute. I was going to say, whoa. But yeah, I mean, some of those they're nightmare visions, even though they were just kind of done on somebody's sketch pad. I thought that I thought the image they had when they were flying over New York or whatever, and they looked down and they saw the ocean liners and stuff in the streets. I thought that was a lot better than the effects in AI.
Yeah,
I could get behind that. But
some of the paintings were really good. I mean, unfortunately, from what my understanding was, they were actually going to use a studio set for the alien world. But then what they did was, I guess the studio was rushing to get like a preview out. So what they did was they had like a painting that was not so good of the alien world as a backdrop. And then what happened was they included that in the preview. So that's why it kind of stuck, which was a little bit of a letdown.
And now some of the things I'm reading said that there were actually alien structures shown in the distance. I thought they were rock formations or something. Were they actually... what do you think that was supposed to signify? Do you think that they were actually alien structures, or do you think it was just like rock formations? Or
I took it that they were rock formations, not alien
that's
structures.
what I thought. Yeah,
that was my takeaway from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought this was a very well done movie. I thought, in regards to the budget of the times, I thought they did very well with it. It was impressive. And regarding talking about the budget, I'm trying to remember, because the filming for this movie did start on, when was it? It was in December of 1950. So literally it is coming up on 75 years that it was produced, which is, pretty amazing when you think about it, that it's that long. It's not even like a 65-year-old movie. It's a 75-year-old movie. But, hold on a second. Oh, I was going to tell you one thing in my...
Tell it.
I can't.
Cecil B. DeMille was interested in doing these things before George Powell picked them up.
Then he lost the rights, Ross?
I don't know if he lost the rights or what. Something else came up. It could have been he lost the rights, but he was going to do both halves, both books. And Powell, like you said, wanted to do both books as well. But it never happened.
Right. No. Let me see here. Jeff Rubel said the actual collision we see on the monitor was pretty good for Mach then. Not exactly Melancholia, but good.
Melancholia was another film I was going to mention. I haven't seen it. It was a Lars von Trier movie. I've seen clips from it on the internet, but I'm not a big Lars von Trier fan. But I'm kind of intrigued by the idea that it's the same thing where something's going to collide with the Earth. It's
right.
like the last day. I mean, it's been done a lot. It's been done in comedies. Everybody. What would you do with your last day, Roy?
Oh God, I don't know, Ross.
Would you be wild?
You're asking me all these deep questions tonight, Ross.
Would you do a total like Chris Farley bender and just like do nothing but eat like tuna hoagies and cocaine and
I can tell you that's one thing I would not do. I hope, if nothing else, I got a good reaction out of you for that. As you drink on the last sips of your Guinness.
The G-forces. Yeah.
The G-forces. Brendan says he wouldn't go to work.
There you go.
And Matt would type for the 4th millionth time because I keep not putting up on the screen what he's trying to convey to you. He keeps typing it every 20 seconds.
It must be a good one.
Tuna and cocaine, fantastic band.
Somebody got tuna in my cocaine. Somebody got cocaine on my tuna. See, that'd be better than the peanut butter cup.
Goodness. With that note,
this on the idea to Reese's.
I really did enjoy this film, though.
Good.
So good. It was definitely a good pick.
Good. Yeah, I enjoyed it too.
So with that said, I'm gonna actually jump ahead because I don't want to lose anybody. Excuse me. Oops, hang on. If I can get it to. Nope, there we are. Whoa! What? How?
Don't do that to me.
I'm not as quick as I want to be tonight. Hold on. Let me get to it. Almost there. So Ross and I will be back next Friday, but what we're going to do is we're going to do something we haven't done in a while, and we are going to do a viewer's choice episode. So with that said, I'm going to ask everybody that's watching now, or if you catch this on the rewind, to just send in what movie, or I'm not going to say television series, because if we do a television series, there's a lot of prep that goes into that. I mean, if we're going to discuss a TV series, then we would discuss the pilot, the first episode only. So let's go with that. So it's either a movie or the pilot episode, meaning episode number 1 from a TV series that has been established. We're probably more going and hoping for more of a movie, but we'll bend for a TV series. But again, I'm going to stress it. It's only to discuss the first episode, because we're not going to get into the whole thing. So
even that though, I if I don't know the series, you don't really know what's the most characteristic part of the pilot.
True, but it is fun though, because that's how it started out, and you're what I mean. You're on a level playing field with everybody, because when episode 1 is broadcast, that is episode 1.
But you can't see how it developed. You know what I mean? It's like what I'm talking about. It's like talking about the pilot of Star Trek, not having seen the rest of Star Trek.
Right. So again, we're looking at movies, and let's keep it to either 1960s, 1970s, or 1980s. We'll do it in that realm. And what I'm going to ask is that everybody submit their responses, post it on the show's page, and do that. I'll say by noon on Tuesday, which is February 7th. And then what we're going to do is not February 7th, noon on Tuesday, February 4th. Then what we'll do is we're going to do a live broadcast at 7 o'clock on Tuesday to announce which movie we're going to do. I am not posting that, Matt. So anyway, there you go. And again, that's a viewer's choice, 60s, 70s, or 80s. Oh my God, Matt.
I guess we're out of ideas, is what you're saying.
No, we're not out of ideas, but I want to just kind of change things up a bit. I mean, we've done different things, and I just thought this would be kind of fun.
Yeah, maybe somebody will pick some of the movies that I suggested we never do.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And we did the heroes of science fiction, and then we also did the Holly, the themes. So we do have a couple different things that are planned, that are in the works. So just so you know, for that. The other thing I want to do is make an announcement too. Mark your calendar. So for Sunday, February 16th, which is Valentine's Day weekend, we're not going to do a show on Friday or Saturday, but on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are going to welcome back David Frankham. David is going to be celebrating his 99th birthday on that day, and we're going to have him on the show to wish him a happy birthday and just be part of his birthday celebration. So I thought that would be kind of fun to do. And David has been a friend of the show for many years now, and thought it would be very cool to have him on. So again, this is not going to be a very long show. It'll probably be maximum of about 45 minutes, but mark your calendars. That will be Sunday, February 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just to put that out there. So those are the two things that are coming up. And with that said, I am going to go to the shout outs portion of the show, Ross's favorite portion of the show. And I would ask that if you have any last minute comments regarding this movie, please post them in the comments and I will circle back. So I want to just give a shout out to my friend Bill Scarrato at Countrygate Players. We were talking about community theater earlier and talking about how excuse me, with Richard Derr, how he was a member of the community theater and how he became a Hollywood star, whether it be for stage, film, and television. So there you go. There's that connection. Countrygate is actually in the process of doing a live murder mystery, which is going to be taking place next Saturday, which is going to be February 8th. And that will be at the Belvedere Manor. If you're interested in tickets, you can call it 610-248-7285. You must be 21 years of age, and the doors will be opening at 6 p.m. Also, for information about Countrygate, you can visit their website, which is www.countrygate.org, or you can go to Bill's website, which is www.billscarrato.com. I want to give a shout out to Mike and Mary Beth, Sci-Fi Distilled. They are on Wednesday nights. I'm not sure what they're doing, so definitely check out their Facebook page. They'll post probably like on probably on Monday, as far as what they will be covering for this coming week. So definitely check them out. And that's Sci-Fi Distilled for Mike and Mary Beth. In regards to Captain Phil, friend Captain Phil's Planet, Captain Phil has a permanent time slot now, and I believe he is on Thursdays. It's going to be every Thursday now, so I got to update the slide, and that's from 4 to 5 p.m. And then he also does Friday nights from 9 to 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is the Captain's schedule. Also going to shout out to my friend Jeffrey Morris. Jeffrey's out there tonight. The Eagle Obsession, Jeffrey was on last week talking about the film. The film is all filmed. It's completed. It is now in the process of being edited. And I believe Jeffrey said it's about 50% complete. It will be released in the middle to later this year. It's going to be going to film festivals. So you can expect to see it. And for information about the Eagle Obsession, you can go to the website, which is www.eagledocumentary.com. So definitely check that out. And also, I want to give a shout out to my friend Lou. Lou is out there, Lou Place, and also a film that he did just last year, which is called Found in Space. Again, it's the latest film by Lou, and it is available for streaming on YouTube. Lou, if you want to put the URL in the comment section, folks can check that out, and definitely do so. It is a fun movie, so please check that out. And also, if you are a William Shatner fan and a Star Trek fan and a original series set fan, you will want to go to Star Trek Original Series Set Tour for the return of Captain Kirk. He will be there June 27th and 28th, which is only literally 4.5 months away. So definitely mark your calendars for that. It's coming up, actually more like closer to 5 months, but anyway, just it's almost there. It'll go fast. And William Shatner is going to be actually celebrating his 94th birthday in March 22nd, if you can believe that. So anyway, the Captain, William Shatner, will be up at the Star Trek Original Series Set Tour. And also, just a shout out to my friend Warren and I, we do the weekly podcast, which is entitled This Episode for Space 1999. We just recorded last night, we just recorded the latest episode, which is year 1, episode 15, The Full Circle. And that will be released on Sunday. So check it out. And with that said, we are going to be doing a special broadcast on Sunday at 12 noon on this episode. And it is going to involve Yasko Nagazumi, Space 1999 fans. Yasko will be on probably just for about an hour. Yasko is actually going to be returning to Japan, but she will be back for the Space 1999 convention in Los Angeles in September. So she just wanted to give an update to fans and just basically say, check in with everybody. So we will be doing that this Sunday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, February 2nd, 2025. Also, a shout out to my son, Ryan, for everything that he does in regards to his running as Run by Ryan, Empower Your Run. And he has online coaching and he is a service provider. You can register for free. And you go to the website to visit is www.runbyryan.com. If you do want to subscribe for specific items, there is different tiers and different levels for that. Definitely check it out. And then lastly, I want to give a shout out to Martha for Studio One Thrift. Martha is at 115 Clinton Lane in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. She has a physical store location, and with Studio One Thrift, you can receive styling updates and informational updates. All you have to do is register at www.studioonethrift.com. Definitely check it out. Martha does a wonderful job with this. In fact, she's definitely helping me with styling updates and clothing suggestions. In fact, when I went with Lou to the Academy Award show in Rhode Island, I went last year it was in 2023. I can't believe it was that a year and a half ago. I actually saw Martha for that, so she got me all set. So actually what we are going to be planning on doing too, and I was just talking to her about this, she is going to be doing a show showing different things that she has, and also what we'll do is we'll broadcast it on this show because I'm always plugging Studio One Thrift, and I thought it was an opportunity for the folks out there to check it out, especially if you are local. You could visit Studio One Thrift, or also you can possibly order online too. And definitely check that out as well. In fact, Snow that was out there earlier is good friends with Martha too, and they're working on videos to help promote Studio One Thrift. And last but not least, Mr. Ross Amico about everything that he's got coming up for this weekend.
Yeah, these are the 3 recorded shows I've got. Picture Perfect's the movie music show that's on right now on KWAX. It's all music dealing with films about Elizabeth I. So it's all Tudor films this week. So there's music on that show by Richard Adensell. There's some Miklos Rozsa, some Eric Wolfgang Korngold, and I forget who wrote the music for the most recent Elizabeth with Cate Blanchett. But anyway, so I've got that going on right now on Picture Perfect. The Sweetness and Lights, the light music show, that's tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock Eastern. And that's all music by Black composers. It's Black History Month, so I've got some Duke Ellington on there, some William Grant Still and others. The Lost Chord all month long. It's I'm doing a survey of the old Black composers series of the 1970s on CBS Records. So it's all not just American composers, but also composers from Central America, from Africa, from Cuba. So it'll be an interesting month on the Lost Chord, 7 o'clock on Saturday nights. You can stream them wherever you are. They actually originate on the West Coast, but you can stream them wherever you are at that link, kwax.uoregon.edu. And I preview the shows the day they air on my Facebook page at Classic Ross Amico. Thanks, Roy.
Thanks, Ross. And yeah, and again, we talked about next Friday, so we are there. So in regards to that, just want to Lou did share the URL in the chat. Thank you.
Yeah,
Lou.
I got to catch that. Yeah.
Brendan said he watched it. He said it was fun, and he had found it charming. Great job to Lou, which it really was. Also, Lou said Lead Stevens scored the second season opener, Blast Off into Space, for Lost in Space. So very cool. That's definitely a fan favorite.
Here's my George Powell, my Lee Stevens George Powell CD there. Who put it out? Entrada. Oh, it's got War of the Worlds. It's got When Worlds Collide, and it's got The Naked Jungle. He didn't write the music for Naked Jungle. That was Daniele Amphitrioff. And then Conquest of Space, Van Cleve. Van Cleve, who did the music for Robinson Crusoe on Mars.
Oh, very cool.
Did I say The Naked Jungle? Yeah, The Naked Jungle. That's with Charlton Heston and the Army Ants.
There you go.
One of these days we'll have to do that movie.
Yeah, that would be fun. I came across 2 movies I was going to run by you, Ross, and I wrote them down, but I don't have them with me. So I'll have to check on that, and we'll have to circle back. But yeah, we'll definitely do some fun themes and different things. Also, we are looking to have a pianist. He's a world-renowned pianist on the show, join Ross and myself, and his name is Hugh Sung. And that'll be really a lot of fun. In fact, we're looking at sometime in February. We just have to coordinate with his schedule because he's very busy and he does a lot of traveling. But he had said that February was going to probably be a really good month for him as far as coming on the show. So stay tuned for that. Another thing is I have a interview that I have not that I did about 1.5 years ago. And I'm almost done with the editing. I should have been done with the editing a while ago. And that's going to be with a Star Trek actress. And from the Star Trek, the original series. So stay tuned for that. Looking forward to showing that to everybody. And it's actually, just to let everybody know, it's the interview is with Frances Nguyen from Elaine of Troyes. So she's very, very sweet woman. So that was a great interview, great discussion with her. So we'll be sharing that as well too. So any last words, Ross?
No, I'm collided.
Yeah, here too. Yeah. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Very, very much appreciated. We hope you enjoyed the show. And again, be sure to like and follow the Facebook page if you have not done so already. And if you have done that, please share the show if you're okay to do that. and it just gets an awareness out there for the show. And that's for Facebook. And if you are on YouTube, please subscribe. It's very much appreciated. Just trying to take things to the next level. And I also want to thank the folks that are doing the stars. If you have the opportunity to do that. So that's very much appreciated. So thank you for that, for doing the stars. That means a lot. And that's on Facebook. With that said, as we always say, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper. And have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.